Hey, Google's AI mode, Jaden, I don't know if you've seen now, has been, first of all, Google's doing everything. It feels like
Yep.
Google's doing everything. We see Logan Kilpatrick on X just saying how much Google is dropping every 5 minutes. New Gemini models, they are not slowing down. But we are obsessed with how you guys can use it. And Google's new AI mode in the app now lets you have a two-way voice chat with search. And Jaden and I, before we came online here, we're kind of talking about like, is this really impactful? Is it not? I have heavy thoughts on this. Jaden has thoughts on it. I'm going to turn it over to Jaden. By the way, I just have to get this out there. AIbox.ai. Guys, this is Jaden's software company that has blown up, and you'll know exactly why. You know how you pay for like different models? You're trying to figure out like what to pay for. $20 a month gives you every model. Claude, Gemini, Grok, ChatGPT, everything, all the image generators. And you think, how does that work? It's because Jaden is sort of, doing his own API stuff and token stuff and all this interesting stuff on the back. But still, $20 a month, you're comparing models right in the thing. It has been, I don't like to say the word game changer, so I won't. It has been transformational because this is what I do, paying for all these models and then switching from model to model. It's a brilliant interface. It has these little tabs. It's really, really cool. Check it out, $20 a month. Open AIbox.ai, guys. It's already huge. I love it so much. Jaden, back to this. What was your thought? Because I actually think that this is going to be kind of huge for a few reasons, but we were sort of going back and forth. Google's AI mode. What did you think of that?
Okay, I'm super excited. Again, also thanks for the plug on AI Box. Really excited about that. This is really cool with what Google's doing, and the reason why I say this is because I think a lot of times when we see some of this disruptive technology coming out of OpenAI or Grok or Anthropic, like I'm always thinking like, okay, how's Google going to respond? And sometimes Google takes a long time to respond, and you see what happens, right? Like OpenAI gets an insane amount of market share. OpenAI comes out swinging with OpenAI with ChatGPT search, and they're really kind of trying to dig at that search market. And to be fair, for a long time, it was kind of my go-to, whether it was OpenAI or more recently, I've been using Grok a lot too. Both of them have a voice mode where when I'm driving, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting there and I have like some sort of burning question. Can't really use my phone while I'm driving, but I can hit voice mode and just sit there and have a conversation with it for 20 minutes, going in depth on a specific topic and getting a whole bunch of really useful information. I feel like my drive, like I love listening to podcasts on my drive, so that's useful. And if you guys are listening to this podcast on a drive, don't replace us with OpenAI. We're
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah,
better,
they're the
right?
worst. They're the worst.
Yeah, yeah, they're the worst. But it's an amazing thing where it's like beyond just consuming content, you can actually like get in there and learn. You can ask follow-up questions. So I find that really, really useful. And Google, I just found myself using less and less because it
Right.
lacked this capability. Those times have changed. Google has come out swinging. And so essentially, by the way, if you're watching over on Spotify or YouTube, you'll be able to see like a video. I'm sharing my screen, but on Apple will explain. But essentially, they have like an actual voice mode where you can click to chat with it and ask it questions about things that you're curious, and it'll kind of give you all of the responses about your Google search results as well. So they had this out about a week ago, and I was kind of publicly roasting them. So now I got to take it back, or not take it back. I'm happy they changed it. It's worth roasting a week ago, and it's good today. A
Mm-hmm.
week ago, what they first kind of launched with was you would do a Google search. They would have the normal Google links, but at the bottom, they had this little voice mode thing where it's like you could click and listen to like a voice memo for like 5-10 minutes. Now, that was like, okay, I called it borderline useless, and I think it was pretty much useless because honestly, if I have my thumbs to do the search, and maybe I use like voice to text to do the search, like I'm not sitting there trying to click on another button, like those darn buttons when I'm driving. I do not want to click on any buttons. I don't want to look at my phone. I just want like it either talks to me or nothing, right? Like, so I think it's great now that they've removed that because before it was just like a little voice clip. I was
Yeah.
going to sit there and click on voice clips. Now you can actually have a conversation. People love Google. They love the Google search. They love the search results. My wife, who we've been on ChatGPT for ages since it came out, I've seen her now more and more on Google looking at those kind of featured AI snippets at the top.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, you're using Google again. She's like, yeah, like the feature snippets are pretty good. And it's already like my default on my browser. So like I just use it a lot. So I think this is interesting. And I think we'll see more and more people maybe migrating back to Google that weren't there before, or getting more value out of it for sure with that AI, and now with turning that into a whole conversation that they can talk to it about.
Yeah, this is what's interesting is that, we live in a bubble, and if you are listening to this podcast, you are in the bubble with us. Okay,
Yeah.
so don't pretend like you're not.
Yeah.
But
We
I'm
have to
sure
break
that
it
you
to
have,
you.
yeah, right.
We have to pop your bubble.
You have friends and family that aren't using this, and I guarantee they're still using Google search. So the reason I really like what Google did, and we mentioned this before after I/O, the reason I loved I/O this year, their big sort of like developer, like, hey, here's our new stuff, is that it wasn't really focused on, hey, look at all this new crazy tech, right? They did have glasses come out, which I think Meta just had new glasses come out too, Jaden, right?
Yep.
But the cool thing about it was that it was really focused on how people are going to use these tools, and I think that is ultimately what's going to make the big impact. It's not, oh my gosh, look, this thing can do this or can do this, because a lot of those things are not overly useful. And what people need to do every day is look up information and get information. And so Google, I don't want to say they dropped the ball, but 2023 was not a good year for Google. 2024
Agreed.
wasn't even a particularly good year for Google, or the first half
Yep.
of 2024, because what they cracked open the door. They had 92% search share or something like that. They
Yep.
cracked open the door to Perplexity. They cracked open the door to for ChatGPT. And look, I get it. They had to move sort of slowly and deliberately, and I don't even really fault them for it. Uh, but now, as people who are still using Google, and it's still 90% of the world is still using Google to look things up, as they see AI mode, okay, that's sort of starting to get in front of their eyeballs. And then as they start to realize they can talk back, I think there's going to be a lot of people almost discovering sort of the ChatGPT/Perplexity element to Google without ever really switching over to ChatGPT. I think a lot of people do use ChatGPT as a browser now. I tend to use Perplexity. I know people are like, why would I use Perplexity anymore? I actually still love Perplexity. I think like I have Claude as the background engine to it. Obviously, you can switch that up. So it gives me great output every time. I like the interface a lot. I don't know. Perplexity is still my kind of go-to on this, but I'll say that the huge majority, and remember, like, this is outside our bubble, this is the great majority of people on the planet right now, are going to get a lot more utility out of Google and are going to be like, wow, this is magical. So I think Google probably is sweeping in just in time. Did they lose market share? Do they? Yes. But do they have to disrupt even more painfully? They have to disrupt their, $50 billion a year ad revenue model, right?
Yep.
Which is a real disaster for them. So they were torn. But I love what they're doing here. I think that this is getting in front of people in a way that people are already comfortable because they're comfortable with Google. And that's what I think is the big takeaway for me anyway today.
100%. One other thing that I do think is like worth pointing out here that's pretty cool is because live search, it's actually running in the background on your phone. And so because of that, you can essentially be talking to it while you're using another app, which is kind of cool.
Oh, I
You
didn't know
can't
that.
do that with like ChatGPT or other ones. As soon as you kind of close out of the app, it'll disappear. So that is cool. You can be using another app, talking to it. In the future, they're going to bring out the ability for it to see what's on the camera. So they'll probably be able to bring out the feature of
Very
showing you
cool.
what's looking at what's on your screen, and you can ask it questions about that, which is pretty cool. You also have the option to click a transcript button, and then you can actually see just like your whole conversation, the transcript, which OpenAI already does that. Well, it kind of like when you wrap up a conversation with OpenAI and end it, then you can go over and see like kind of the transcript. So I'm not sure if it's going to be able to do it while it's talking to you or after, but either way, very interesting because you're able to essentially go and revisit all of your all of your responses, kind of look through the history of that. So that's pretty cool. And I think it's cool that it allows you to talk to it while you're using other
Yeah.
apps as well, which is opening up a lot. So all in all, I'm really excited by this. I think Google is making some big strides. They're coming up with cool new features like this all the time. And so I've gone from kind of, skeptical of Google to this year, I'd say 2025 becoming very very bullish on Google
Mm-hmm.
and what they're doing. And if you're interested in learning new things with a tool like Google's AI, and you're always kind of like trying to figure out new stuff with this, one of the best ways I would say to learn new things about AI itself is to go check out Connor's AI mindset course. So he has this whole course which is absolutely phenomenal. It breaks down AI and frameworks around AI, specifically I think for people working in business and trying to further their businesses and careers with AI. Is a amazing frameworks. A ton of organizations, like literally, they'll just buy a license for everyone in their entire organization to get it, because once one person at the top sees kind of the content, they're like, oh my gosh, everybody needs this, and so they'll get it. So if you're interested for either your organization or for yourself, kind of getting an unfair advantage over other people or the other candidates at a job, whatever, go check out the AI mindset course. The link's in the description. It is phenomenal, and just like this new Google feature, it will teach you so much more about AI than you knew before. So thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to leave a rating and review. We appreciate all of you, and we will catch you guys all next time.